Welcome to another episode of Stuck in My Mind podcast. I am your host, Wize, and my guest today is an entrepreneur and the author of the land business. Over the past 8 years, has built a seven-figure land company by completing more than 700 deals across the United States. Through real operating experience, not theory, he has developed simple frameworks that explain why businesses grow, why they stall, and how entrepreneurs can create predictable results through goodwill, speed, and consistent execution. Today, we're diving into the lessons he's learned from hundreds of deals and how those lessons apply to any business. Welcome to the show, Abi Asija. Oh, the pleasure's all mine. Thank you for being a guest. I appreciate your time.
Yep.
All right. So, what first introduced you to the land business?
So, quick backstory. Came to the US as an international student. After graduating, did a 9 to 5, just like all other international students. 10 years of that, got burnt out, wanted to get into real estate. My wife was into affordable housing, so we had some background. But then we also did not want to take debt because we were huge Dave Ramsey fans, and we were like, well, we're gonna be debt free for life. So we were kind of like out of options. We couldn't flip houses, we couldn't do flip apartment buildings or even single apartments. We couldn't do commercial, right? So we were like kind of like running out of options. But then we stumbled upon this land thing where we saw other investors like buying these parcels for like $4,000, $5,000, $6,000 in the Western US, like in Nevada, California, Arizona, New Mexico. And they were flipping them for like 2-3x profit. So we're like, okay, that seems like something we can do. We can use our savings. We don't need to go in debt. So we sent out 500 letters to owners in these said areas. And out of those letters, most people said no. They said, yeah, we're not going to sell you our land. But 2 people said yes. So we bought that land. At the time, eBay was big. So we listed it on eBay, and then we sold it in a few months, and we like 2.5x our money. And we're like, so this works. So how do we do enough of them so we can replace our salaries and do this full time? So that's when we started learning on how to run a business. 7 years later, we did like 700 plus deals now and turned it into a 7-figure business.
Awesome, man. So, but before building your company, what were you doing professionally?
So I'm a computer science grad. So I was in technology. My wife used to work for the city of New York. So she was in affordable housing. That was our background.
Okay. So, what was there a moment when you realized this could become a real business? Like when was it when you realized that, hey, this is something that really can sustain us and take us far?
Yeah. So when we first sold the first couple of properties we sold, in my head I was like, all right, we just need to sell maybe like 60 of them, and then we'll be able to replace your salary. We sell another 100, and then we'll be able to replace my salary. So I did the math in my head. This is like very doable, but I'm also like super optimistic. My wife, on the other hand, is not as optimistic, and she was like, well, this could go wrong, that could go wrong. How are you going to do so many deals? You'll need to hire staff, right? So it was like a healthy mix of like optimism on my side, pessimism on my wife's side. And then after we did like 40, 50 deals, we both came to a same realization that it is doable. We just need to figure out how to run it efficiently like a real business and not like a side hustle.
Mm-hmm. So what were there any early mistakes that helped shape how you run your business today?
Oh yeah, tons and tons of mistakes. Like, how much time do you have, right? So like, biggest mistake was, or biggest, I would say like the top category of mistakes was on the due diligence side. Like when you're buying a house, for example, you just hire a property inspector. They spend like 3 hours at the house and create this detailed report for you, and you look at it, and then you, based on what comes back, you know what needs to be fixed, what needs to be repaired, right? And then you can kind of like negotiate based on that report, right? But you can't do that in land. Like there is no property inspector for land. Everything is on you. You have to do the due diligence yourself. Now, some people mistakenly believe that they can just hire a realtor and realtor will do the due diligence for them. But most of the realtors are trained for houses, not for land. And land is much more complex. Like, for example, you have to look at things like flood zones. You have to look at things like wetlands, environmental contamination, legal access. Not only just physical access, like can you get to the property, but is it like a legally platted road? Like in as you move away from the cities, you go in like desert areas, you might be able to get to the property, but if it's not a legally platted road, you cannot build on the property because how are you going to bring in utilities? Like the utility company are not going to trespass on other people's property, right? So things like that we were not aware of, and we kind of like learned by trial and error. And this is like pre-chat GPT. So this is 2018. So this information was not readily available. So we kind of had to like join Facebook groups and learn from our own experiences, to get up to speed. So that was like the biggest mistakes we made was in this category. The second big category was running it like a side hustle and not a real business, right? Because in a real business, you kind of like have these two buckets. The first bucket is to make more money, you have to, you can spend more money on ads, you can spend more money on marketing, you can acquire more customers, and that's how you make more money, right? That's like the bucket that everyone kind of like is aware and they follow it. But what most newbies don't understand is a more valuable bucket is to make your existing customers more valuable. Because when you make your existing customers more valuable, it spreads word of mouth. They buy more stuff, right? So they make your LTV, lifetime value per customer, much larger, right? So the biggest mistake we made in this category was we just focused on spending more and more money on marketing and kept on acquiring new customers, but we didn't take care of our existing customers because in our head, we mistakenly believed that, oh yeah, everyone just buys one piece of parcel, which is not true. In the US, people love collecting parcels, just like people love collecting jewelry or coins or like rare coins or rare figurines or whatever, right? People just love collecting stuff, and there's like a huge population that just likes collecting vacant land parcels because down the line, 5 years, 10 years, if you are in the path of growth, you could make a ton of money, right? So it has like those speculative investment built in, and on top of that, some people just like off grid. They bring their family with them, they bring their RVs, they hang out, they camp, right? A lot of things you can do on vacant land, and both my wife and I were completely oblivious on the demand on the land side. So we didn't really focus on making our existing customers valuable. So those were the two biggest category of mistakes we made when we first started.
Okay. All right. So what kept you going before the business started scaling? Like what were you doing? Like what kept that going before it really?
Yeah, I mean, the business, as you start any business, you realize there are things that you don't want to do, but you have to do, right? Because if you are in a 9 to 5 job, like for example, I love to write code, right? Because that's where I got my degree in computer science. So I would spend all day at my work writing code, and it was fun. Some of it was fun, others, there are deadlines and stuff, so it's not fun, but it's still relatively fun because I'm doing what I love. But when you start a business, right? So in there on when I was in 9 to 5, I'm like in like so there are like 7 departments. There's like legal, there's technology, there's HR, there's customer success, right? So I am part of that one department. Within that department, there's a sub department. There are software developers, there's quality assurance, there's production support. Within that software development, I am like in this team. Within that team, I work on this thing, right? So I'm like 7 levels deep in the org chart, right? As a 9 to 5er. But in the business, when you're starting out, guess who are all these departments, right? You are the legal department, you are the HR department, you are the technology department, you are the customer success department, you are the complaint department, right? So pretty much you take on all these roles, and just the amount of learning that you have to like learn things, right? So what kept me going was like there was always new things to learn, and I just love learning. So like what is an S corp? Like how do you set up an S corp? Like I didn't know that, right? So I read books, I talked to CPA advisors, and I figured it out. And then like, all right, so I know how to set up my LLC. How do I do accounting? Like I didn't know how to do a P&L, how to do balance sheets, right? So I learned. So now I know how to do that. How do I set up like a customer journey, like architect customer journey as they buy land online? How do I make sure their customer journey is smooth? Like how make sure there are no friction points? So all these things is like you're stacking skills. Like you learn something new, and now you know this skill, and then you learn something new, and you know this, and then you know this, right? So you just keep on stacking this skill set. And I just enjoyed the learning process. And as I learned and got better at things, I realized that I also got better at business, which means our revenue increased, our net profit increased. I learned how to hire people properly, how to motivate them properly, how to lead them properly. We learned how to do sales properly. We learned how to do customer success properly, right? So all these learnings, if you love learning, you're going to love being an entrepreneur. So that was the case on my side.
Oh no, absolutely. Yeah, because that's been me the last 6 years, and since I launched my podcast, I've been able to launch a production company, launch a publishing company, and really just start learning different things. Like I learned how to edit video, audio,
Yeah.
skills that I didn't have prior to me podcasting, and so I've been able to make some money off of that, because not everybody likes to edit their video or likes to edit their audio and stuff like that. And I come to find out I enjoyed it. I enjoyed that process of creating and all this stuff. So it was just a skill that I was able to develop.
Yeah. Yeah. Learning. Yeah. It is like, I mean, I run a mentorship where people like apply to it. And that's like the one thing I look at. Like, are you okay with learning? Because a lot of people, they just want, like, they're kind of like spoiled in their 9 to 5, right? They do this little thing and they get this monthly paycheck, right? And it comes in every month, right? And then they become an entrepreneur and they're like, what do you mean I need to do my own accounting? Can't I just hire an accountant? It's like, yeah, you can, but if you just kept hiring for every function, you're not going to make any profit, because you're a solopreneur. You cannot just keep hiring experts. You have to kind of like learn how to do everything yourself before you have enough profit, and then you can bring someone in, right? So there's a lot of like misconception in people coming in from 9 to 5, and they have been sold this dream, like, you hear gurus, oh, become a millionaire in 2 months, millionaire in 3 months. You just have to do some flips, and you're gonna buy a Lamborghini, and then you don't have to work ever again. You'll have a team running the business for you, which is like completely untrue and unreasonable, right? Because you have to pretty much do everything yourself, especially in the beginning.
I know, and it's crazy because some of these programs be a ridiculous amount of money, and the point of these people joining these courses is because they want to make money. So
Yeah.
it's like I'm broke. I'm trying to learn to make money. but
Yeah.
so yeah, no, it's just. But there are people like yourself that says because when you say money equals goodwill multiplied by the numbers of offer, right? Break that down for me.
Yeah. So that was the day I learned that. Like, I mean, I've heard that before, like in like different contexts, but I didn't really understand it. But the day I like internalize it and I understood, it was like, oh, that's how big businesses make money. So the amount of money you make in a business is equal to the amount of goodwill you have in the marketplace multiplied by the number of offers you make to your customers. So what does that mean? So let's break it down with number of offers, right? So Will, you and I, give an example. Say we live in the same town, small town. There's no Starbucks. So we decide, all right, we're going to start competing cafe shops, right? Coffee shops. Will's coffee shop, Abi's coffee shop, right? So that we open our coffee shops, people come in to buy coffee. So they come to Will's coffee shop and they say, all right, well, I would like a small cappuccino. And you have this friendly conversation with them, as part of that conversation, you're like, well, you should, upgrade to large because you get a free pastry. And then we have these croissants and, we have this foam art on top we do. And then we have these coffee beans that just arrived from Costa Rica. You should check it out, right? So you're having this friendly conversation with every customer. And as part of that conversation, you're making like 5, 6, 7 different offers. You should try this. You should try that. Oh, this is, I'm getting a lot of good reviews on that, right? When they come to my store, my cafe, they say, Abi, I would like to buy a small cappuccino. I give it to them. They go home, right? So that's how we're running our respective coffee shops. You're making 7 offers per conversation, per customer. I am only making 1 offer, which is for the coffee, and I'm sending them home. So you can imagine if there are 100 people coming to your store and 100 people coming to my store, at the end of the year, 365 days later, your revenue numbers will be ridiculously higher than mine. If I made $100,000, you might be at 500, right? Because you're doing all those upsell offers, right? Mm-hmm. So going back to the equation, the amount of money a business makes is equal to the goodwill you have in the marketplace, which we'll get into in a second, multiplied by the number of offers you make. So more offers you make, the more money you make in a business. Now, goodwill is important because if the customer doesn't trust you, if they don't have goodwill, you don't have goodwill in the marketplace. If Will says, oh, would you like to try these coffee beans or this croissant? They'll be like, well, Will, you just moved to the neighborhood. I don't know you. They might not be willing to take that offer. They'll be like, no, it's fine. I just need coffee and I'll be on my way, right? But if you are part of that community, you produce content, people know you, people like you, people trust you, then they'll be like, oh, well, Will is suggesting these coffee beans. These must be special because, he's not going to pitch a bad product to me because I know him, right? So you need goodwill in the marketplace to make a ton of offers and the likelihood of those offers getting accepted increases the more goodwill you have in the marketplace. So that's the formula. Now, how does this apply? Like, how do big companies use it? Let's look at a couple of examples. So to drive the point home, you go rent a car, right? You go to the car rental place. They advertise that $29 per day for your medium SUV, right? You go there. Oh, would you like to upgrade to a bigger vehicle? Would you like 4x4? Would you like a GPS? Would you like a car seat, a baby car seat? Would you like ski racks? Would you like prepay for gas? Would you like premium insurance, right? So they make like ton of offers. And the reason they're doing that is because they know they're going to have like million interactions over the US every single day. And the more offers they make, the more the revenue they're going to generate by the end of the year. So this concept was like, I was like completely blown my mind because I didn't think of it. So now how do we run our land business, right? People come to buy land. We're like, oh, would you like a bigger parcel? Or if they say no, would you like a smaller parcel? Would you like help with running a soil perk test? Would you like help with survey? Would you like help with fencing? Would you like help with grading? Would you like to buy like a guaranteed or like an insurance type product? Like, so we started making all these offers. We started building goodwill. My wife wrote a book. I wrote a book. We do daily lives on YouTube. We give away free strategy calls, just like lawyers, free consultation, right? So we started doing all these goodwill activities. We started making more offers. And lo and behold, our revenue numbers went up, right? So that's a very powerful concept. And a lot of small businesses are not aware that it exists.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And it's crazy because a lot of businesses just offer only one offer, right?
Yeah.
You just spit out like 7 in one, like when you were describing the different, like, oh yeah, we got the foam and we got this and we got the croissant. And so, and it's like with any fast food restaurant, when you go to McDonald's,
Yeah.
oh,
Yeah.
would you like large fries?
Would you like apple pie with it?
Yeah. So yeah, it's in everything. It's any
Yeah.
restaurant you go to or wherever, they're always trying to upsell you. And
Yeah.
yeah, and that's how you generate more.
Yeah.
Definitely.
But small businesses, they don't do it. They're like, oh, just take this thing and go away. I don't want to talk to you. Like the whole. So here was another big mistake in this bucket, right? Our thought process, and this is like the general real estate training. You don't want to talk to people. You want to avoid talking to people, right? That's like the general advice. If you are renting houses, you don't want to talk to the renters. They're gonna create problems. Hire a manager to handle that. Like in the land business, oh, you don't want to talk to people who buy on owner financing from you. They're gonna cause headache. They're gonna waste your time, right? That's like the general advice. But we kind of like flipped it, and over time we realized your customers are your biggest asset. If you treat them properly, you take care of them, you talk to them, you solve their problems, they will come back to you because everyone else is running the business like trying to avoid people, right? They're not thinking of the LTV, lifetime value of the customer, right? And it's all about the LTV because the CAC, cost to acquire a customer, like the money you spend on ads and marketing, it always keeps on going up every year. Have you looked at like Facebook ads, Google ads? They just go up. They don't go down.
Yeah.
Right? So how are you gonna survive if all you're trying to do is just trying to focus on CAC? You have to really focus on LTV, take care of your customers, make them more valuable. So when the ad costs go up, they don't affect you that much.
Awesome. Yeah, absolutely. so you say speed beats persuasion in sales, right? What does that look like in practice?
Oh, yeah, that's a juicy topic. So on the sales side, so that's another thing we kind of like learned through experience, and it took us a long time. That sales is like a big thing. You know, if you don't know how to sell stuff, you can generate a lot of revenue, right? Like the principle that we just learned, making more offers. You have to learn how to make those offers. You can't just verbalize it without a script or a strategy, because then you're gonna make people awkward, right? So those are the things we learned, that sales, you have to be good at sales. In the context of speed and persuasion, when we took like sales training, like we took a lot of sales courses, to get better at it, we realized most of the sales training was geared towards objection handling. So if someone says, oh, I don't have the money, how do you handle that? If someone says, oh, I need to check with my wife, how do you handle that objection? If someone says, oh, I need to think about it, how do you handle that objection, right? Let's think about it right now, right? How do you handle, like usually you'll have some kind of a comeback where, you'll basically try to have them handle it right on the call. But for us, when we put all the sales training in practice, what we realized, the biggest thing that moved the needle was the response time, the speed to lead. Because when people go on these land websites and buy land, they don't just click on one listing and say request more information, right? Or on Facebook Marketplace, you have seen this, right? They'll say, is this available? Right? Like the automated pop-up, and people just say, is this available? Right? So people don't just go on one listing and say, is this available? They go on like 20 different, and they'll be like, is this available? Is this available? Is this available? Is this available? Right? So if someone is buying land in, say, Elko County, Nevada, they're not just looking at one listing. They might be looking at 20. And if they requested 20 sellers to respond back with more information, and you are responding 8 hours later, and your competitor is responding within 30 minutes, who do you think has a higher chance of making a sale, right? Because the person who responded in 30 minutes, they already now established a relationship, right? So that's when we learned, when we did this, and now our metric is respond within 1 minute, within 60 seconds, because we want to get to the customer as quickly as possible so we can start that brand new relationship and delight them with our good customer service. So speed to lead beats persuasion. Objection, you don't even get to the objection handling phase because your competitor already reached out to them, so they're not even going to talk to you. Like if I talk to my customer within 60 seconds, right, and I saw all their answers, I gave all their answers, and I had them put the property on hold, reserve it. My competitor responding within 8 hours, they are not even going to interact with them because they already bought or started the process of buying the property, right? So what good is objection handling training if you're not even getting on the phone? So that was the biggest lesson, one of the biggest lesson on the sales side that we learned.
And one thing I want to talk about is why talking to customers is one of the fastest ways to solve business problems.
Oh yeah, that's a big one as well. So a lot of times business owners make assumptions. Oh, what do customers need? How do we make this process better? How do we make the customer journey more frictionless? And in fact, I have my own podcast. I was just talking to a founder and he was like, oh, we're building this feature. We're building that feature. We're spending so much time and money on this feature. And I was like, okay, tell me how many times have you spoken to your customers in the last 30 days? And the guy's like 0. I was like, okay, so you're making all these assumptions of what customers want, but you're not even talking to them. Why don't you talk to them? Like, why don't you have like a one-on-one, incentivize them, give them like a gift card to talk to you for like 30 minutes and just ask for feedback, because then you can prioritize, right? Because he came on my show and he was like, I have like a more of a strategy show. So we like strategize things they're dealing with. And he was like, well, I was hoping you can help me figure out which feature I should prioritize. And I was like, well, you're like doing all these adding more and more features to your product, but your sales are declining and you're not even talking to your customers. And, you gotta like talk to the customers to figure out what their biggest pain point is. So that will help you prioritize which features to build, which not to build, and which existing features to improve.
And since I've built a podcasting helping people launch their podcast, and I had a friend of mine. She wanted to launch a podcast, and she signed up when I told her that, hey, I was going to launch this program, and she helped me build it, right? Because I knew the process because I experienced it building my own podcast from scratch, not having the experience. So what I took was I started showing her how to avoid the pitfalls that I went through. And at the same time, she would give me back feedback. She would tell me, hey, maybe you might want to include this, because that's like any question she asked, I would include it in the program, because she needed the feedback. It was just getting that feedback, being able to get her response to like, yeah, how did this part of the course feel to you? Like, how did you react to it? And being able to have that really made me improve the course so much more.
Yeah. Feedback. Yeah. Talking to customers, getting feedback is very important. I agree.
So if someone wanted to start a business today, what principle would you focus on first?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. So if someone is starting, well, the first thing you got to focus on is the product market fit, right? You want to focus on, instead of like coming up with like a brand new thing that hasn't been proven in the market, I would rather have that person look at an existing business and something that has already proven itself, like even like starting a laundromat. There's like existing demand. People will need to get their clothes laundered, right? So trying to recreate the wheel and going after like a unicorn product usually doesn't work out, at least based on the founder conversations I've had. So try your hand at something that's already proven. And then once you have found something that already works and you're generating revenue, go high, put hyper focus on your customers, and focus on the offer construction. You want to make an offer to your customers that's irresistible, right? You want to make sure when they look at your offer, it's like a no-brainer to them. Because if you don't do that, people don't take offers, especially when you're starting out. Having like a free or a discounted type product where like, oh, I'm gonna say give you like say strategy sessions for free for the first month, and if you get value out of it, then you can start paying me next month, kind of thing, right? So having like a free offer, it becomes hard to say no to because it's an irresistible offer, right? So that would be my take on someone starting a brand new business, is to focus on the product market fit, and when you find something that works, focus on constructing an offer that's people feel stupid saying no to, because that's how you generate your initial customers. Then you can gather testimonials. Once you have social proof, then you can start increasing your prices. But the biggest mistake I see people is like trying to charge a lot of money upfront, and when they don't have any social proof behind them.
Absolutely. So what what mindset shift helps entrepreneurs grow faster?
I think the biggest mindset shift for me was just thinking long term, because especially in real estate, it's all about per deal, how much money I can make, how quickly I can get my money back, and all those things. But it really, the biggest shift happened when we started really focusing on the relationship aspect with our customers, as opposed to just thinking of deals in terms of numbers, right? Because when you take care of your customers, they take care of you. And CAC to LTV, like cost to acquire a customer and lifetime value, is like the number one ratio people should be focused on. Because if you just go after short-term profits, you're not going to survive in a down market.
Oh, yeah. So what does focus have to do with compounding success?
Yeah. So I mean, we have all heard of shiny object syndrome, right? And it's real, right? So as an entrepreneur, we get good at something and we're like, okay, so we're clearly good at our thing. And now we're like, oh, well, I wanted to do this, like a lot of times people, when they book like free strategy calls with me, they'll be like, well, so I have few rentals. I'm getting enough, like this much rental income. I have this crypto fund I'm part of. I am doing Airbnb short-term rentals. And now I want like a fourth line of passive income through land flipping. And I just shake my head. I was like, okay, so you literally have 5 hours left in your week to dedicate to land. And you're going to compete with people who are doing this 100% full time, like 60, 70, 80 hours per week. Like, and you're going to beat them at their own game. Like that's like very delusional thinking, right? So if people who focus on one business, like they have much higher compounding returns, because you're literally getting 1% better every day, right? Because I'm putting 70, 80 hours in like just one business, whereas my competitor might be spread thin across 5 different businesses, and they're just putting like 20% of their effort, right? So their compounding is happening at a much slower rate. And we know compounding, like the chart like kind of like exponentially goes up as you spend more and more time, right? So you can make that compounding graph in your favor if you were to focus on just one single business, as opposed to getting distracted by different passive income streams and running multiple businesses at one time.
So what's next for you and your business?
So our goal is to stay focused, right? As we were discussing, keep focusing on the LTV side of the equation. we already know the CAC side will keep on going up. Cost to acquire customer always goes up. So we're focusing more and more on increasing the lifetime value, taking care of our customers, building meaningful relationships. So we know we can count on them, because we're not just building the business for the next 5-10 years. We want to build it, turn it into a generational business. We can hand it off to our kids someday, and that's one of the reasons why I wrote the book. And it's not a how-to book, actually. It's more of a principles book, because I wanted to write something timeless that hopefully applies forever.
Evergreen, yeah. It's always gonna, apply to everything. So, if someone listening right now feels stuck in their business or life, what's one simple action they could take today that would help them move forward?
If you're stuck, well, it depends on what you're stuck at. Like, if assuming it's a revenue problem, you're stuck at revenue, your revenue has plateaued. I would focus on, obviously we talked about goodwill, building goodwill in the marketplace, making a lot more offers, talking to your customers, focus on the relationships and long-term revenue, not short-term goals. We didn't touch on this. There are 4 different types of offers you should be making, and you should be making all of them. If you don't make all 4 offers, you're leaving money on the table. Just a very quick blurb on what these offers are. So going back to the coffee shop example, if someone, so the first type is attraction offer. If, say, we know that 12 to 2 p.m. is slow time for our cafe, we put a sign out saying, if you come in between 12 and 2, you get like 20% off anything in the store, right? So we're attracting people who otherwise wouldn't come in, right? So you want to think of attraction offers for your business. For us, it's like free strategy calls. We do like yearly free land giveaways. We do like specials, like $1 down on some properties, right? So you want to attract people who otherwise wouldn't come in. So that's attraction offer. You should have that in your business. Second is upsell. We already discussed this. People come in for small coffee. You upsell them into large, upsell them into croissant, upsell them into other stuff. Downsell offer is the third type, where say you upsell them an expensive thing, like coffee beans, which are like $99. They might be like, oh, that's too much, right? And you'll be like, well, we have a smaller pack for $29, right? So you use the downsell offer, because otherwise you wouldn't have collected any revenue, and now you collected $29, right? So it kind of like helps you mitigate the upsell no's. And the fourth type is continuity offer, some kind of a subscription service or like a membership, or join our coffee club and you get like coupons in the mail, you get invited to these after parties or after hour events. And we have this special guests that come like after hours, and you'll be invited to it, kind of like stuff like that. So you can build up that membership. So you get like monthly recurring revenue coming in every month, whoever is part of that membership. So those are the 4 offer types. And I encourage all businesses to make all those offers to increase your revenue and profit. So hopefully you can delight. The more money you have in the business, hopefully you can use that to delight your customers, so they even bring more referral and word of mouth traffic back to you.
Awesome. Man, Abi, this has been great, man. I really appreciate your time, but we've come to the part of the show where you get the solo screen and you get to plug away and let everybody know where they can find you, your website, everything.
Yeah. So I just published my book, The Land Business. It should be available on Amazon starting maybe like a month ago. So please check it out. As I said earlier, it goes over principles. These are timeless principles. Even if you're not in land, it should apply to pretty much every business. I also offer mentorships if you are interested in investing in land. And for that, the website is honestwealthbuilders.com. And you get to select like a free 15-minute strategy call with me. But Will, thank you so much for having me on the show. This was really great. Thank you for the opportunity. And I appreciate it.
I appreciate you, man. Thank you for your time, man. This is great. This is information people can use. It's definitely beneficial to help people, because a lot of people don't know about purchasing land and they're thinking about, when people think about stuff, they think about, oh, I got to buy this house or whatever it is, and they don't think about. Sorry about that. Sorry, but yeah, they don't focus on land. They just think about the house, the house, the house. When sometimes the land itself is where the value is.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
But thank you so much, man. This has been great. I really agree. I really appreciate your time. But don't leave just yet. Let me close out the show and we'll chat a little bit off the air. But man, this is really great information that you provided. Once again, thank you for your time.
Yep. Thank you for having me.
Pleasure was mine. All right, everybody. Another great episode is in the books. I really had a great time. If you enjoyed this conversation and want to learn more about building a business through simple offers, speed, and execution, make sure that you go check out Abi's work and his book, The Land Business. And if you enjoy conversations about entrepreneurship, mindset, and growth, make sure to subscribe to Stuck in My Mind podcast. You know how your boy Wize does it. Peace out.